Hello and welcome to Shut Up and Sit Down's rule explanation for Mysterium. If you haven't heard of this game, I've got some bad news for you. You really need to buy it. It's so good and the new edition is so pretty, but hopefully this game will speak for itself as I walk you through how to play. This is a cooperative game where one player is a ghost and everyone else, between 1 to 6 more people, are a team of psychic investigators taking this car up to this spooky house where they'll try and solve a murder. And they will do this by the ghost sending them dreams. The ghost player, at all times in Mysterium, has a hand of 7 dream cards, 7 beautiful, abstract, wild illustrations. And the ghost cannot speak for the entire game. Mysterium is played over 7 turns, each one represented by an hour on this clock. On each turn, the ghost is going to hand out a dream to each psychic and immediately replace it before handing out the next one. Arrayed in this setup, we have people, we have locations, and we have weapons. And only the ghost on the inside of their screen. What you can see here is an example 3-player game. We've got the ghost, we've got the purple player, and the yellow player. Now, if you look here, each player has been assigned a person, a location, and a weapon. But because it's on the ghost side of the screen, only the ghost knows which cards belong to each player. And it's a case of trying to let the players know who their suspects are across the 7 hours in which the game is played. Let me ground you in all of this nonsense by showing you exactly how a turn might work. So the ghost might hand this card out to the purple player, and the purple player will then look at their dream and put it on the table if they like, or they'll describe it. That's one way you can play Mysterium and say, I dreamt of nuts and bolts and spanners, a world where there was nothing but mechanical artifice. And because we start always in Mysterium down here, first figuring out who the person was, you know that it's one of these 5 people. And you're thinking, maybe, you think mechanics, maybe that's the driver because that's kind of a machine. Once you've made your guess, you will place your guess token on that person. But of course, the other player will have received their own card. They'll make their own guess. And once you've all decided who you are committing to, the ghost will let you know if you're correct or not, either by saying yes or no, or if you're playing the really cool variant of Mysterium, the ghost will never speak for the entire game and will knock once if you're wrong or twice if you are correct. If you're correct, you will advance. Now, next turn, you'll be guessing your location and the ghost will be giving you a dream to do with your location. Or if you're wrong, you'll go back, but you'll know that this is incorrect. And so one of these 3 has to be your murderer. Now let's focus on the poor yellow player for a bit who failed to get their dream correct. They're going to keep that dream card from the previous hour. And then the next turn, the ghost is going to give a card to the purple player relating to their location. But then the ghost will also send another dream to that yellow player. So now the yellow player is looking at 2 cards, both of which are pointing to the same suspect. Hopefully, by the end of 7 hours, the players will have worked all the way through collecting their suspect and location and weapon. And if they've done that within 7 hours, then they win. Hopefully, you're going to get through to this end of the obstacle course before the 7 hours are over. If you do get here early, then you stop receiving dreams. You can just feel quite smug about yourself. And you're going to help your friend. You're going to look at their dreams and you're going to try and help them make the correct guesses to swing here before the game ends. There's another reward for getting here early as well, which is that it bumps you up this track. You see, it's actually not enough for players in Mysterium to successfully identify all of their locations and all that junk. You actually have a final round after that, and how well you perform in this sort of preamble determines how many cards you're going to get in the next phase. Let's say we collected all of our cards and it was 4 o'clock. That means there would be 1, 2, 3 turns left. And what that would mean is that we'd advance our little marker here, 1, 2, 3, up this particular track. I'll get to what this means in a minute. First, I'm going to describe the other way you advance up this track. Each player, give me them, gets a load of these guessing tokens. You get 3 correct and 3 wrong. And as your friends are making guesses throughout the game of Mysterium, you're going to be saying, I think you're right there, or I think you're wrong. And here's the thing, when the ghost knocks and says if they are right or wrong, if your guessing token was correct, you're going to move up 1 more on this particular track. Now, you only have 6 of these, and you actually don't get them back. Meaning, you need to spend all of them before this 4 o'clock happens, because that token represents you getting all of your guess tokens back again, and then hopefully you're going to spend them all again before the game ends. A couple more mechanics I'm going to talk you through, the first of which is this spooky hourglass with spooky blue sand. Blue because it's made of ghosts. The sand timer isn't something you have to play with, but what the manual says you should do is once the ghost has handed out dreams to every player, the ghost then flips the sand timer over and you only have that much time to make your final decisions, your final guesses, and then guesses on your friends' guesses as well. The other thing worth knowing about are these completely awesome perching raven tokens. At 3 points during the game, the ghost can go caw, and the raven flies away. You don't actually have to say caw, but you do in my house. And when that happens, they can junk any number of the 7 dreams in their hand. Maybe you want to hang on to this one, you junk those, and draw all the way back up again. This is really important because I can't tell you how often in Mysterium as the ghost, you end up with a handful of garbage. The final rule and the final round of Mysterium comes in if everybody makes it to the end of the course in one piece. What happens next is each player takes their suspect location and weapon, puts them out in the middle of the table, and then the ghost is going to assign each of these a particular number. Because all of these people were in the house when the ghost died. These are things that happened, but only one of them is the murderer that the ghost is trying to tell you about. And the final round of Mysterium involves the ghost trying to direct you towards one of these particular sets that each player has one of. The game actually changes a little bit if you're playing with just 1 or 2 psychic investigators. Check the manual if you're playing with a small group. Assuming you're not though, the final thing for the ghost to do is the ghost chooses one of these sets to direct the group to, and then must pick a dream card from their hand that represents the location, the weapon, and the suspect. Okay? Those 3 cards are then shuffled together and placed in the middle of the table. And this is where this track comes in. Because depending on how well you did in Mysterium, you're either going to get to see 1, 2, or all 3 of these cards. So the final round of Mysterium involves everyone flipping all of their tokens over to the numbered voting side. And then in a dramatic finale, first, you flip over the first of these shuffled dream cards, and all of the psychics that didn't make it to this 2-card slot have to vote there and then. They pick the numbered voting token relating to the group they think it is. They pop it into their little psychic pouch that they got from graduating Psychic University. They hand that to the ghost and it disappears behind the screen. We then flip over the 2nd card and all the psychics that didn't make it to the 3rd band vote then. And finally, we flip over the 3rd card and all the goody two-shoes psychics that made it all the way to the top of the track can vote with full knowledge. And if the majority of psychics all guessed the same group the ghost was thinking of, the whole table wins. One final rule about handing out dreams: while every investigator must receive a dream every night, unless they've already finished, it's actually not against the rules to hand out multiple dreams to an investigator if perhaps 2 pieces have the same piece of iconography that you're trying to point that player towards. Now, you might want to put a hard limit on that. It's not in the manual, but we found that the ghost not speaking can actually be circumnavigated by a ghost handing 6 or 7 cards to a player, which translates as, I don't want these cards, they're junk. So yeah, you can put a hard limit on it, or you can do what we do and keep a rule in place that the ghost can only hand out 1 dream at a time, which we find keeps the game tense and exciting. Besides, what's happening if an investigator's having 4 dreams in an hour? And that's Mysterium. Hopefully you can see by now why it excites the bejesus out of us. It is so beautiful and so engaging and thematic. You feel like ridiculous ghost hunters, and yet at the same time, it offers something so evocative, but absolutely anyone can play it. Try popping this game in front of your family or your non-gamer friends, and I guarantee you'll have them wrapped for an hour. And better than that, probably someone at your table is going to want to be the ghost after you've finished, and you'll just play this game again and again. It is so Moorish, and better still, Asmodee have announced an expansion coming out. So when you buy this game, it can be something that you play for years, because that expansion is adding nothing more but new cards for every deck. Oh. Enjoy your time with Mysterium, everybody. It's one of the greats.